Get this. Yay. All right, put your cameras on if you can. Wherever you are, however you are, welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy New Year. We are thrilled you chose to spend some time with us on a Sunday afternoon. And I am so excited that you're here. This is so fabulous. And I see some friends. That's always what makes my heart the happiest. Seeing friends pop up here and we can connect virtually and we can be together. So, to get this started, I'm going to give you a tiny bit of overview of background. By the way, in the chat, put it, where are you joining from? That's always fun to see where you're joining from. So put your country where you're joining from, your city, your state, wherever you're joining from. We'd love to see the names coming in. Awesome, Lancaster, Austin. Okay, bring it in, bring it in. Happy New Year. Yes, Portland, Philadelphia, Hawaii, Allen, Aberdeen, Scotland. Yes. Oh, yes, Glasgow. Karen, you're here, my friend. Yes, you made it. You're like the queen, my friend. You are the queen. Big celebrity over here with us. I can't wait to bring you on in a minute. All right, Scotland, Canada, Coppell. Stacy's here. Fabulous. Oh, this is exciting. Stacy is coming on, speaking on February 1st. You definitely want to hear her. She's talking about literacy and play. This is fabulous. All right. So those of you, has anybody not heard me speak before? You can put it in the chat, first time or you've heard me speak before. That's always fun to know. First time or returnees. If you've heard me speak before, definitely let me know if you're first time. Toronto, first time, Joni. Awesome, awesome. All right, a tiny bit about me. Alan, my husband and best friend, and I'm so lucky I get to do life with him, work and play. He's going to manage the chat and he's going to manage the letting in folks. And if there's any question that comes up, Alan, please keep an eye on it and you can pause us and let me know so that we can, returning, yay, loads of returning. Heard you before. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Alan, if you can keep an eye on the chat, let people in. I'm going to get this going. So a tiny bit about me. If you have not heard me speak before, like some of you are saying you have not, I have been in the field. My name is, by the way, Prerna Richards, and you pronounce Prerna like you're praying. That's the easiest way to remember. And I've been in the field of early childhood now for 39 years. Love it, love it, love it. This is a calling to me. This is my passion. This is my purpose on earth, to make the world a better place for children. And my favorite thing to do is to hang out with early childhood educators. This is like my tribe. This is where my heart is the happiest. 6.5 years ago, we started our own business called Together We Grow. And Together We Grow provides 3 services: professional development, behavior coaching, and NAEYC consulting for anybody going through quality. And the professional development that we most talk about is neuroscience, social emotional, challenging behavior, stress, and how to bring joy. That's really what the mission I'm on. I started last year with going from stress to joy, one program at a time. And that's what I'm going to continue in 2025. So this webinar was created because we had a golden opportunity to travel in Europe in September. We typically take the month of September off and we travel in Europe. We've done it in the previous years. Our daughter lives in Switzerland and Alan is from Scotland. So we typically go to Switzerland and Scotland, but this time we changed it slightly. We wanted to know what was happening in the world of early childhood in other countries and could we learn something from them. We were also interested in finding out if they were experiencing high levels of stress and challenging behaviors like we were seeing in America here. And so when we set out on this adventure, we had open minds and open hearts. We were willing to learn and listen from wherever the journey took us. And we were blown away with how gracious the hosts were and how much they gave us of their time. And so in our time together today, I just want to lay out the lay of the land, what to expect. We are together for an hour and a half. You will receive a replay. you will receive a certificate at the end of our 90 minutes together. It'll be put in the chat. There will be also an evaluation feedback form that we'll share in the chat that we would appreciate if you would give us your thoughts. If you're not joining live, you will just get the replay, not the certificate. So I just want to clarify that the certificate is only if you're joining live, not for the recording, because I'm sure you will all agree with me. It's really hard to know with fidelity and integrity if people listen to the whole thing. And we all understand the value of certificates, right, for professional development. So I hope that's all good with you. Many of you have put your cameras on. If you haven't, I'd love to see your beautiful faces. This is an informal gathering. I hope you have something yummy to drink, hot, cold, whatever is your jam, and you're sitting in a comfortable place and you're ready to take a tour around the world. And feel free to ask questions, make comments. This is a conversation. This is not a training. This is not a lecture. This is a conversation. We want to hear your thoughts. We want to hear your insights. And as you see these different schools around the world, share whether this resonates with you, whether you could do this in your program. What are you doing? This is similar, different. Let's have a real conversation because that's where the magic happens. All right. So with that said, any questions, any wonderings? Can everybody hear me clearly? Everything is good? Got it? All right, cool. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Because I totally respect your time. You came here, you are on time, and I want to make sure we respect your time. If something is not clear, let me know, and I will do my best to help things around. I'm guessing this black box needs to go down. Is that better now? Can you give me a thumbs up? Is that okay? We're good. Can you see it? All right. So together we grow around the world and exploration. So this is kind of what I was just sharing a minute ago. September, we had a chance to go to Switzerland, which is where our daughter lives, Scotland, where Alan is from, Sweden, where we met an author of early childhood book, and Alaska, where we ended up going to a native Alaskan Head Start program. And this tour was covering forest schools, outdoor learning, and Native Alaskan traditions. And so if there's anything that feels off or anything, sorry, I won't open up the chat because I know that creates a black box. So Alan, I'm trusting you to just let me know if there's something I need to stop or share or do something, because if I open the chat, all right, here's the table of contents. Here's what we did. We started our journey in Switzerland with a school called Pirouette Cacahuète, which actually means little peanuts. How cute is that? And I don't speak French, but it was very cute. Then we went to Kirkton Homes in Scotland, and we'll talk more about them. And guess what? Karen Flynn is here joining us from Kirkton Homes. So she might have some insights, and we'll invite her to share some of her behind the scenes information that maybe we missed out or something, right? So then we went to Sweden. Oh, then we had an outdoor learning program in Scotland, which was very spontaneous. Then we went to Sweden, and then I spoke at a conference in the UK. We'll talk a bit about that. And then we came home and went to Anchorage, Alaska. And by the way, if you've never been to Anchorage, Alaska, you need to go. Like, put it on your to-do list because it is stunningly beautiful. So Switzerland, here we go. So Switzerland is very interesting in terms of early childhood. This school that we went to, so our grandson, oh, by the way, first, before we get there, we have to listen to the cow. Place of Switzerland. I mean, the thing about Switzerland is that the postcards and the photographs don't do it justice. No matter where you point your camera, it's just stunningly gorgeous and beautiful. And so this particular preschool in Switzerland is where our grandson used to go, Pirouette Cacahuète. And this is Patricia, and she is the founder of Pirouette Cacahuète, and she started it in 2000 with her friend Agnes. And it's only open for the 4 hours in the morning from 8 to 12. And except for Thursdays when their school is till 2 o'clock, because they end up taking, it's called the field trip. So the way they do it is really fascinating. The parents get a message with a link to show up the next morning with their child. And it could be in the middle of a field, it could be in the middle of a mountain, it could be by the lake, it could be by the stream, and you never know where the pin is going to take you. And this is an example of how it looks like literally in the forest exploring. And when our grandson went there, some days he would come back soaked from head to toe because he had been playing in the stream. And so our daughter would drop him off and pick him up filthy, but the biggest smile on his face, and he would have had all this exploration. Um, Knowing this, that you are getting a pin as a parent to take your child somewhere in Switzerland and no other grown-ups other than the two teachers, and these are 4-year-olds. How does that make you feel? Does that make you feel anxious? Does that make you feel like your heart is jumping with joy the kids are doing it? Or does that make you feel like, oh my God, that is way too much stress to take 15 children out in the open? What do you guys feel? Put it in the chat. I'm so curious. Or, yeah. I see thumbs up happening. Oh my goodness, I see thumbs up happening. Uh, okay, love it. Okay, all right, cool. All right, all right, all right. I feel the same way. I'm like, that is amazing. That is, teaching them. Okay, here's an interview with her. Let's listen.
Les premières années à l'extérieur de la famille et même dans la famille, ça va vraiment être sa construction, son rapport à l'autre, son rapport à comment le monde, comment je vais pouvoir vivre à travers le monde. Alors nous ici, on est plutôt des médiatrices, on n'est pas des éducatrices. Et par ce fait que justement où c'est important.
Okay, so did you understand that she was talking about how important the early years are, and they are mediators and not educators. Their role is very much trying to help children get their self-esteem and confidence and all of this jazz. So her foundation, this is what very interesting. What Patricia said, this was their outdoor learning, by the way. And this is a glimpse of their inside. What Patricia said was she is going against the Swiss structured education systems, and she was getting pushback from the families. Her biggest thing was the imaginary world and the world of puppets. So her traditional, so she was a animal therapist in her previous world, and she used the uh, the puppets as a way of communicating with children. So she's bought both of those things in her program, and she only serves 15 children. It's a very small little setup, and there's only one classroom. And I think I can show you a video of that in a little bit if I can make this bigger. So basically, this one room classroom is where they spend their day. It's not very fancy, and this is very outdoor. Of course, it's very open-ended, like, right? So there's not a lot of stuff. It's mostly children cultivating their imagination and creativity. This is completely immersion in French. And so this was an interesting thing. Our grandson, who is a chatterbox at home, didn't feel comfortable to speak at all while he was at school. Think about that. Just let that soak in. A 3-year-old or 4-year-old who speaks nonstop at home is absolutely, his teacher has never heard him speak at school because they are full immersion. So what are your thoughts on that? Like, what do you think about that? I'm just curious. So if you have any ideas of that. So that was kind of an interesting take for me, that there's all this imagination and creativity and all of this, but are children feeling safe? Are children feeling seen and heard? Is he not talking because he's going to make a mistake in French? Or is he not talking because he doesn't understand French? And is that being accommodated in this? So it's just something to think about, right? movement was a big part of this. The children were free to move wherever, and they were constantly encouraged to explore. And so he was exploring, he was playing. Our grandson was exploring and playing. He just was not talking. He was just not choosing to speak. And so she never knew that he could actually speak, which was very interesting. So if somebody put something in the chat, Alan, if you can let me know, because it's hard for me to go from the screen to the chat. I'm curious what people think about that. This
Okay.
was the, yeah, go ahead. You're just going to say something,
No,
Alan?
everything's good. Everything's good.
Okay, cool. The other thing she said was they do it by experiencing. So when they're learning about a concept, they actually do it. She said, we bring fruits, we make the jam, we talk about the growing of the trees. So their education is very holistic, bringing everything to life. And so understanding, so they didn't have themes, they don't have content, they explore through learning. They will learn about the tree, they learn about the fruit, they'll make the jam, they will make the bread, they will put the jam on the bread, and they'll use real tools to spread that. And all of that is where they're mastering independence, exploration, discovery, and of course, they're making sense of the world around them, right? So an incredible amount of hands-on, if you're talking about hands-on program. Oh, this was fascinating. So I had asked her, actually, by the way, our son-in-law was doing the translation because we didn't speak French. And so Patricia didn't speak English. So our son-in-law was translating for us. And I had asked her a question, are you experiencing more challenging behaviors over there? So when my son-in-law was preparing for this, he said, I don't know if she will know what challenging behaviors is. I said, well, I don't know. What is a word for French for challenging behaviors? I don't know. So when I asked her the question, are you experiencing more challenging behaviors? She didn't even let me finish the sentence. She totally understood what I was talking about. And she said, buco, 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 which in French means more, more. We are seeing an increase in behaviors. It has become really so much more than it was before COVID. And so I said, what are you doing about this? How are you handling the challenging behaviors and stress in your program? And she said, because her background was being an animal therapist, she brought in bunnies. And bunnies were brought in to help children self-regulate and self-soothe, but also bunnies were great to teach boundaries because bunnies didn't want to get too close to the little children. Sometimes bunnies were okay if you held them. Sometimes bunnies were okay if you petted them. But children had to learn boundaries. Children had to learn what they can and cannot do. So it turned into self-control, but it was also very soothing. So I'm curious, has anybody else used animals to help children self-regulate, or is this a new concept that the Swiss people have discovered? Just curious about that. So let me know if there's something on the chats that I'm missing, Alan, because I feel like I'm starting questions. So three things that we learned. The approach to school in typical Switzerland is more conventional and more structured. This is the other thing that was fascinating. Even though she is a developmentally appropriate program using imagination and creativity and puppets and outdoor, her parents didn't quite get it. They were not quite on board. So she worked very hard to get her message across, which was also an aha moment for us that you could have the best program, but if you can't tell your story, if you can't share why you're doing it or how it's helping children, the parents will not be able to get on board. The reason I say that is because our son-in-law said, when I went to the parent orientation sessions, she talked a lot about puppets, but I didn't really understand what that was. Like, okay, fine, you have puppets here. How does that impact my son? Our daughter is an educator and a teacher, so she could understand it. But him being a lawyer, he was just like, what is this? So so telling your story is so critical, right? And really what we want, she said, What we want to give is children a foundation that comes from discovery, exploration, and being in touch with nature, hands-on, empathy, and all the empathy was another one. Let me tell you one more story about one of her puppets. So one of her puppets, and maybe this was on the original slide. I wanted to show that to you. Hang on a second, because here. Okay, do you see in my hand what I'm holding? It's an egg whisk. Do you see what I'm holding right here? I can make it bigger. So this one, she called this puppet Luigi. And Luigi was a tool that would be used to transport children from the circle time to the kitchen. And Luigi made it okay for children to speak with an accent. So because Luigi is Italian and he couldn't speak French very clearly, she would use Luigi. So she would have different puppets like this. So it wasn't just the traditional puppets. It would be just the tools to make it into a puppet and used as a transition. And if Luigi showed up, the kids knew that that day they were going to do cooking. So it was all part, and it would become like a movement from the circle time to the kitchen, and the whole thing would be imagination based. Yeah, so that kind of was pirouette cacahuète, tiny puppet peanuts. So nature walk. Any insights? Oh, Luigi the chef. Yes, I shared that. Any insights? What are your takeaways from this? I will open the chat now. If it may cover. You included Luigi in your college class. I love that. I love that. Anybody else? Any other takeaways? Any ahas? Any questions, comments? What are your takeaway from the Swiss school? Maybe I will stop the share because I'm going to give you a minute. I don't want to just run through this. I actually want to talk about this. I'm going to change this screen. Okay, so I'm looking at your feedback from this. Some people do use animals. We've had nightmares with rabbits. Oh, really? Yeah, that would make sense if they escape. We've had animals, chickens and rabbits. Okay. And Donna, where are you located? Because in Texas, I don't think we could have chickens. Yeah, thank you, Christina. This resonates. Uh, hey, Jill is here. Awesome. Yes. Yes, if we could bring this more simple and yet purposeful. Yes, thank you. Yes. I think just listening to all the different programs, this might also get your creative juices going and your imagination going for your team. How can you incorporate some of this? So what you saw, is there anything you saw that would be something that you could take to your program? Share some ideas so we learn from each other. Yes, no matter the weather, Cindy, no matter the weather, they go out once a week and you get just dropped off somewhere. You have a campus dog. Oh, Catherine, that's amazing. Oh, that's fabulous. I'm so happy you're here doing, yeah, Catherine is here in San Antonio. You know, this world tour continues. We're sharing this from a hotel room in Austin. So here we are. The world tour continues. All right, I'm going to continue. Any other insights you want to share? Let us know. Or if you have questions, I'm okay if you unmute yourself also, as long as we don't take up too much time and allow everybody to share. I'm okay with that. So if somebody has a burning some question or something to share, I don't mind if you want to share. All right, so here we go. These are the three things they learned. So here we are in Scotland, and Kirkton Home is an incredible program. So Karen Flynn is here with us, and she is overseeing all of their locations. If I'm correct, were there like 17 locations, Karen? Is that what you told me, or 11 locations?
11 locations, Trina, but 11 nurseries and 2 forest schools. So there's actually 13 services
Love
on
it.
11 locations.
Beautiful. So, Karen, if it's okay with you, we can share some of the insights and then you can chat more on the other side and add value, or in between if you
Yeah.
want to stop. If there's anything that I'm sharing, feel free to unmute and add value to something because I may not have done it justice. I love this. All right, so here we go. Scotland, Kirkton Homeschools, 13 locations, 2 forest schools, and 2 indoors. So by the way, while we were there, we met up with Alice Sharp. If some of you may have know about Alice Sharp, if you don't, check her out. She's on Facebook doing a lot of work with play. And here's Karen, and we had a lovely lunch together. And Karen was very generous and very kind. She took us to 3 programs. She drove us around, and we had free access to watch and video. And we were very careful not to get the children's pictures. So some of them are just showing areas. What we noticed about Kirkton Homeschools was that they had a free flow between inside and outside. There was many like French door setups, and the children were moving freely between indoors and outdoors. And what they had done was the staff had positioned themselves inside and outside. We saw this in the toddler program, we saw this in the preschool program. And as you can see from this outdoor, there are many open, available provocations, invitations for play just set up, available there. Lots and lots of loose parts. And I want to talk a bit more about the loose parts, because loose parts are not just manufactured things that you put there, but more for children to just transport freely, recreate freely, experience freely, explore freely. And create something new out of nothing, right? So this was one example of how maybe we can even make this bigger. Like there were just things available with baskets, things available in little shelves things, so that they could just take advantage of. See if this. Oh, here's a video. All right, let's go.
Yeah. Do you know, you really do. But it's about trying to change that narrative a bit and give people a little bit more hope. Yes. Do you know, that actually it's not that, you know, yeah, we've got our struggles, but here's what we can do to help. And we've worked with different initiatives in the community, and there is a lot here. There is a lot of hubs and
it gives such hope.
Yeah,
it gives hope
it does.
to the children.
And see if you've got hope, I think that's what you can build on, isn't it?
Hope is so powerful.
It's that foundation, isn't it? If we can give the families hope.
That you can change. It's not destined.
No, exactly.
You can change. Wow, what a beautiful. So other than the community that changes the schools, the curriculum is the same?
Yes, all of that's the same. We might access and deliver it slightly differently as well, because again, children will, I mean, every child's got different learning styles and things like that anyway, but some of our
Oh, sorry, didn't mean to do that.
children, we might feel that if they're dealing with different things at home, and you know, that can also obviously impact their learning and how they learn, and so we might need to adapt a bit of that through our kind of planning and experiences and things like that. And
So what I wanted to mention about this was that they were so cute and generous. They had a whole big tea made up for us when we got there, with scones and teas and all of that loveliness. And what they were talking about was one of their schools was in a very low poverty area, and the families that attend this specific location are coming from real struggles, which in America we would call Title I programs, real struggles. And what this program is doing is giving their children such a good start in life, but also hope that you can change the trajectory of your life, and it doesn't have to be said and done if you're born in this neighborhood and this so and so. Karen, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, just a bit, just to take it, but to kind of put it into context. So yeah, you've absolutely covered it. This community in particular is like real social issues. There's so many issues: unemployment, drug, alcohol, do you know? But what we do, not just in this, as a company, in our company, we have our services run over all areas. That we've got the very affluent and then very poor, but it's the same opportunities for every single child in the company. And we start way beyond them coming to the service. We start when the parent first approaches us looking for a space. That's when we begin. Now, they might not need that space for 9 months. They might be pregnant, might not have a baby yet, but actually we start then. We start with stay and play sessions. So our children all come in before they begin. Now that could be the whole of the mum's maternity leave. that they could be coming every Friday morning for a session. Mum stays with them, it's all in the name, stay and play. They stay with them and they play with them. That they could do 10 of them, they could do 20 of them. It's totally up to the family. That gives the opportunity then to build those really strong relationships. So not just the child building the relationship, but the parent. And like we've got a whole induction process where we would sit, we do home visits, and we would sit with the parent and ask those quite difficult questions sometimes about, do you know, is there social work involvement? Is there an additional support need? Is there any problems at home that we could support? Is there any barriers? Is there maybe a language barrier? Is there some of our parents might not be able to read or write? All of these, because if you're building up that relationship and that honesty and that trust, then it gives that opportunity for the parents to let go and tell you, which then would mean we can support not just the child, but the families. And that's where we start. And then, only then, when the child's built those relationships and the parent has a knowledge of what the baby's day will look like, what their key worker, who their key worker is, they've got that relationship, and only then would we allow the parent to leave the child.
Love it.
And we would
Beautiful.
start off with a wee hour, go and have a wee coffee, or go into the parents' room and build it up from there. So there's never a child in Kirkton Home that starts like parent phones, they start and they go. And that's the foundation, we think, of everything, as well as that indoor, outdoor. We do cafe style lunches. We don't stop everybody for lunch. Children eat their lunch when they
I'm coming to that. Hang on a second. I'm coming to that.
So there's so much, but that's the very beginning, and we build the foundations there and then build on that.
Love it. Thank you for adding the value of building a relationship and trust with the family, starting with maternity, starting with pregnancy, and then they know that this is where their child is coming and the ramp is built. And we have family advocates in Head Start programs and other versions in America that represent that role where the family connection is happening. So thank you for pointing out that is where the community foundation journey starts, and then you become one-stop shop all, and then the journey of education is just woven in. So going back to your classroom environments, this is one of your toddler classrooms. And again, the invitation, I just love how you brought in nature inside, and it's just absolutely pleasing, like aesthetically pleasing. The other thing I observed was in your hallway, you had something like this with observations. And this was an open-ended question asking the teachers, what is an observation? Why do we observe? What is the purpose of it? And you just had different teachers putting in stickies. And I thought this was ingenious way of finding out that maybe this is our next PD that we need to cover, or maybe this is something we need to go deeper with based on the responses that teachers are giving. But it was also done in such a subtle and interesting way to hear different perspectives in a very safe, non-threatening way that, and then it says, why do we observe, right? And this was your really sweet little thing called love letters. And you were so kind to share the love letters with us. And I'm going to put it in the chat so everybody can have a sample of that. And if I'm remembering correctly, your love letters were sent once a month in exchange of an assessment. So you didn't do formal assessments, but the love letter shared with the family, it made it personal for that child. And you have teachers who take certain kids that they're focusing on for that week so that they really very intimately get to know the domains that the child is mastering in that time, and then you share it in a love letter with the families. I'm going to let you share about the love letters while I find that link to share with the people over here.
So the way in which we plan for our children is every month or so, every child has a focus week. Now, the key worker may have 3 children each week that they're focusing on, and they would, the previous week, they would discuss with the parents where the key worker thinks the child is at, where she thinks or he thinks that they need to support them and develop, and ask the family as well their opinion on, is there anything you want to add? Is there anything that you're finding? Because there might be things at home that they're showing. And then that following week, that's when that member of staff totally focuses on those children, offering all those opportunities to develop those systems and those developmental areas. And then at the end of that week, they write the love letter. So they're not doing tick sheets. They're not doing, do you know, what we do observations on post-its and put it up, and it's pulling all those observations together, which I'm sure many of you do. But we do it in a letter to the child. The letter is the child's letter. So every month they're getting that letter from their key worker saying, remember when we did this, wasn't it amazing that you managed to do that? You found that a wee bit difficult, but you persevered, and oh my goodness, look what you can do now. So every month they're having this letter. So through majority of our children come from babies right to school. So they could be with us 5-6 years. So in that time, that's their story. And that story just builds.
Karen, what I love about that is that this is going to be a treasure keeper thing for as the children grow and the families can gather this. So thank you for adding value, but I'm going to keep us moving because I have so many pictures from your program. Like it's just like a lot. So here's another example of how the indoor-outdoor is set up with these big natural light windows, and it just flows freely. Again, this one is the outside, nothing spectacular, but look how natural. Of course, this is Scotland, so they have a ton of natural nature, right? Like it's all happening. This was fascinating. They had different clocks all listed up here. Was there a reason, Karen, you had all the little clocks, the various clocks up here? Was that just to talk about?
It's right beside their lunch table, and their lunch table is an adult-sized table where they don't all sit together, but there's 8 of them sit together, and it was a talking thing. And obviously there's a numeracy. It's without, you can trying to teach numeracy in lots of different ways. So as an example, because there's also the numbers 1 to 12 on the wall beside it.
Love it. Love the subtle introduction of numeral numbers in different ways, different clocks. And look at all the belly boots. Rain, sunshine, we're going out. This is what life is happening. And look at all the comfiness that's happening. I know somebody said in the chat, I'm so jealous of indoors. I know, me too, or the outdoors, right? Here's another glimpse of one of their toddler rooms.
An infant room?
No, infant room, sorry.
Would they be in this room?
6 weeks to 2.
6 weeks to 2 years?
The youngest we've had about 12 weeks that we've had a baby.
Super inviting.
This was amazing how the flow of inside outside was happening, even for the infants. This was another one. They have real food available. So in their dramatic area, they have real vegetables, real pasta for them to play with and cook with. And also, I think you mentioned, Karen, that you offer real fruits and cookies. Like in the middle here was just cookies on the table. And if children are hungry, they could just help themselves. It doesn't have to be a thing, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And then here's one with, I love this one.
And this is just all the water explosion, huh? All the
Potion station.
Potion station. Oh my goodness. How fun is this? Potion station. And all the tools are real as well.
Yeah.
All the tools. Wow.
Changes every time I come in.
Yes. This is incredible.
Love it.
All the little bottles, the pipettes.
I mean, it's just the creativity, the imagination to make it accessible, to make it fun, to make it exploration. You said it's changing every time you come in. Can you imagine what the children feel when they come in? So many opportunities for curiosity and inquiry and discovery and exploration. This was a toddler classroom. Just the invitations, provocations just set up. And many of you may be doing stuff like this, but maybe you can get some ideas. There's a box over there with all the scarves just hanging out. Oops, sorry, didn't mean to do that. Just available, right? I think it's the invitation, it's the creating it aesthetically pleasing and easy for the kids to find. Here was another one. So what I noticed about your program, Karen, you have a lot of tires being used in a lot of your locations, and you had said you have a partnership with a tire company.
Yeah, well, I don't know what it's like at your end, but in Scotland, you've got to tire companies have got to pay to the tires to be taken away, and obviously because of pollution and the burning of them, so they will quite openly deliver them to you,
Okay.
because it saves them money, and we can do so many things with them.
Oh, yeah, it is absolutely incredible, isn't it? That this is a win-win. They need to get rid of it and you need to use it. And so you have created this space where they just give it to you and you make holes in them so that it leaks out all the water. And they were in and out, like they were spread on your patios, they were spread outside. And I found this little thing was so cute. This was just a landing, this dog thing, the pig thing. I don't know if you can see it. Maybe I'll move this block out of the way. Can you see this pig thing? It was so cute. It was on a landing. We were going up the stairs and they had used the landing to create a little farm space. Here's another example of just invitation to sit, read, just join conversations for between the grown-ups and the little buddies. Oh, this was wonderful. So they have something called the Bag of Worries based on the movie Inside Out. So they have the characters of Inside Out and they have the Bag of Worries has rocks. And if I remember correctly, what they said was in the morning, during circle time, gathering time, the teacher might introduce the concept of how big is your worry? And they would pick up a rock and they would share a worry, and then they would put it down. And maybe you can add some more to it, Karen. Maybe I've forgotten some details.
Yeah, it just goes along. They did a whole program now. What did they call it? Emotional resilience. So it was
Okay.
taken, we've worked with Inside Out for many years, and we've worked with Dr. Suzanne Zeedyk over many years to get, adverse childhood experience, all our staff trained. And this is taking it to the next level. It's getting the children to really understand the size of a worry and what they could do with a worry, and whether it be joy or worry. Do you know? But they then they've turned it. And Carly and Govan that you spoke to about it did a whole program within NSPCC, which is the National Protecting of Children, and they talk about now positive affirmations rather than golden rules. So the children all celebrate affirmations. So they talk about it like they're honest, they share, they're kind, they're doing all of these things rather than the old fashioned don't hit, don't. So
Yeah.
we've turned it, we've flipped it round and made all those negatives
Yeah.
into positives and celebrate the positives that the children are
Yeah.
doing.
And focusing on the qualities that we want to imbibe in our children. Let's show kindness, let's show gentleness, and instead of just keep your hands to yourself and gentle hands and this and this. So another example of sensory bins, the tough tubs, whatever you want to call it. So the children are, and this were also nice. The natural materials were put on with the Play-Doh, which is all homemade Play-Doh with different scents and such, real tools in the middle, but again, bringing in nature with it. This was an interesting concept that they had that really fascinated me. So many of their classrooms had these little arches created, barriers created, and Karen shared that they had done this intentionally to keep the educator from entering and interrupting play. And this was like a visual reminder that before you enter this archway, asking yourself a question, am I needed to facilitate play? Am I needed on the other side? Or are the kids engaged and happy? And do I need to not do anything right now? And I think this visual, which is also very pretty, by the way, but, it's a very aesthetically pleasing, but I love the concept of slowing down and recognizing, am I interrupting play? Am I adding value to play? Or can I just be quiet and not just do nothing right now, which most grown-ups are programmed to just do something. This was their outdoor kitchen. Again, Kids were so busy with so many options. And I think we stayed here watching these two children for the longest time. I think maybe 30, 40 minutes, maybe longer. I don't remember, but they were so engaged and they were running back and forth and they were setting up tea and this and that. Again, the tires being used in a very creative way here. The tires, this was the toddler classroom, the flowing from inside outside patio situation. This one didn't have an outdoor learning space, but they sure did have a patio and they were using it. This is a fence that they've used in a creative way. So my hope is, our hope is that as you're watching these pictures, try to think outside the box. What can you do with the space you have? It doesn't have to be access to forest. It doesn't have to be outside big things. What can you do that you can take from this and get inspired to do your own? So these were the three things we learned. Their locations are very widespread. Autonomy over learning. This is what was really quite starking to me when we walked in. One of the locations that Karen took us, Alan asked her, how many children are enrolled in this program today? And she said 100. We heard no sounds. Like you would not have known there was a single child there. Why? Because everybody was busy playing. And the teachers that you saw in the pictures were sitting right there with the kids. They were not talking across the room. The other thing that maybe we didn't share that I thought I had a picture of was snack and lunch was set up inside and outside. It was buffet style, and children were free to go in and out and eat when they were hungry. So, Karen, can you remind us how long is your lunch session and how many shifts do you run in those lunch sessions so that they could eat whenever they want during that time?
It generally only takes about an hour and a half. I mean, this
Okay.
is the biggest, the one that you saw, Prina, that was the biggest service. Now there was in our 3 to 5 room, there was, I think, probably about 90 children to have their lunch, but we had 3 areas set up. So if you remember right, there was the main dining area, and then we've got an island kitchen in the next room, and then there was a table outside. So there was three. So there was probably, I don't know, about 18 children at the most eating at the one time.
Yeah,
And usually within about an hour and a half to 2 hours maximum,
yeah,
then the lunch, every child's had their lunch and unhurried, unrushed.
yeah,
It's not a sitting. It's when there's a space at the table,
yeah,
another child can come and join. And they
yeah,
can sit there as long as they want, because you know there's nothing worse. And I've been doing this for 40 years, and I've been guilty of hurry up, you need to,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and we've taken all of that away. So by adding more spaces to eat lunch, but while they're eating lunch, the play's still all going on, nothing
yeah,
stops. So we don't
yeah,
have any of those start-stop moments, and
yeah.
that helps with the regulation of children
Mhm.
because sometimes they're not ready to eat, so they get a wee bit upset or I get a wee bit uptight. Some of them don't like to sit at tables in a chair. We've got a good few autistic children who don't like that up against in a chair. They feel trapped. They feel so we
Mhm.
try and be flexible with it. So
Mhm.
those children are still getting that nice opportunity. But whether they stand at that table, that's
Yeah,
perfectly okay. Or whether they just want a wee table nearby,
yeah,
that's also okay. But some of them like to, especially some of our autistic children, like to eat outdoors
yeah.
because that's
Yeah.
where they thrive.
I love the fact that you brought it in that this is also helping with meltdowns and challenging behaviors because I saw that there was a little girl, she was playing with the water thing. She was so busy and then she decided she was ready to come and eat. She picked up a plate, she self-served herself. And when she was done, finished eating, she went back to her play and there was no fight and there was no pushback. I am curious, I'm going to open it up to everybody. What did you see at Cookton Homes that resonated with you, that inspired you, that you're curious about, that you're wondering? Let's hear your comments and thoughts in the chat. What can you take from here to adapt in your own programs? What are you wondering about? What questions might you have for Karen or about her programs, if any, or any comments for her? It doesn't have to be just questions. It could be comments too. How are you keeping food warm for them to come free flow for lunch?
Uh, we have catering kitchens, so we've got a cook in our service. Most of our services, we've got a cook. So they will deliver a bit at a time. But
Oh, batch
also,
pack.
we've got hot boxes, and we get them in Amazon, and they're only about £20. And they keep the food warm for 90 minutes. So they're actually at the table, beside the table with the children, with more food in it. So it works that way.
Beautiful. And the point of slowing down, right? I think a lot of us are seeing the stress and behaviors are connected with this hurry, 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 hurry. And I think this just helps to bring the temperature down. The worry bags was also a big hit. And I did share the love letter if you want to capture that and make that. Is it okay if they make it their own and take it and run with it? Karen, are you okay with that?
Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah, of
This
course.
is the point of sharing, guys. We put it out in the world, take what resonates with you, take it and run with it, adapt it, make it your own, but also share freely what else resonated with you, what questions you have. Um, Yes, these are so doing the themes is a thing. There's a whole thing about themes with the little bitty ones. There's so much exploration that you don't really need themes, but if that is what I know, the worry bags is and would love more details about how to implement it. Karen, if you have any specific implementation strategies, send them my way, and then when I send the replay, I will add that to it. And I'll share it with whoever's interested. How to go about implementing the worry bags might be something that social emotional supporting maybe resonates with some of us. All right, I'm going to keep us moving. Anything else, Karen? I don't want to take away your time from sharing. If there was something else that's on your heart and mind that you'd like to share before I move on.
No, I don't think so. I think I've shared the kind of most important things to us. Like, I mean, it's just that it's the heart and soul of Curtin Home. That's what we're all about, and we're all about the children are at the heart. You probably
Yes.
noticed that we
Yes.
don't have colour. We have elements of colour, we have cushions, we have rugs, we have all of these things, but our walls are neutral, our flooring's neutral. We don't use the overhead lights, we use lamps. Because we found that a lot of children, it brings everything right down, and also finds it brings staff voices down, the
Oh, yeah.
teachers' voices, because it just went like that. So see, as soon as we put a bit of soft music on, we have standard lamps, table lamps, but we never ever use the large lights,
I
and that
love
makes a
how
huge
I
difference.
I love how intentional you are in reducing stress through environment, through
Yeah,
language, through communication, because stress accumulates when it's loud, when there's clutter on the walls. This all adds to the stress, and I think you have hit on some very specific things that may be adding to stress and challenging behaviors, and you have intentionally modified it.
yeah.
That's
We also don't do wall displays, if you notice, Prina. We
Mhm.
don't decorate the walls because the way that I found it was it's taking the staff away from the children to decorate a wall for what reason? What's the purpose? Now we found there wasn't a great amount of purpose. We have the children's we want the children to feel as though they belong and they but we use photographs, we use wee items of theirs, we use all those things rather than and any art materials that they make, they'll take home, they'll take photographs of it, put it on the profile, but they take it home because it belongs to them.
Got
But
it.
we might take a photo of them with the thing that they're most proud of, and we'll
Love it.
celebrate that. But we don't just cover the walls in freeze paper and borders, and because that again is too much. It just we
Yeah.
found it's just too much and overwhelming for the children.
Yes, agreed. Perfect. All right. That was incredible that we wrapped up the first half of Scotland. We're not done with Scotland yet, so let me continue with Scotland because what happened was, oh, these, by the way, I got to introduce you to these. These are called, what are they called, Karen? Oh,
Highland cows,
Highland cows. And are they not the cutest of it
they're the
all?
most beautiful things ever.
Oh my God. So we went for hikes and walks in Scotland, and this purple thing that you see is called heather. And this is a classic picture of Scotland. It's very gray and misty, but absolutely magical and mysterious with all of these mountains and heather covering everywhere. And of course, we went for many hikes, and it was such a amazing I just love this cow with all this hair in front of its face. Like, so here we continue with Scotland, and this was Willowden Outdoor Nursery. And what was interesting about this one was that it's at the Spartans Leith Place. And this was one of those spontaneous ones. My sister-in-law lives close to this place. She actually lives in Leith. And so she's like, wait, I have an outdoor school nearby. Do you want to go visit them? Let's do it. And this one, so this is completely outdoors. Children aged 3 to 5 attend a fully outdoor environment. It's a tiny, tiny program. And so they are they are actually a forest school, like it's a real forest school. So here's a video. Let's watch.
We basically want to get children thriving and back outdoors and getting connected back into nature and their environment and learning their life skills from what the world offers us instead of
What an amazing concept. Like that's your mission.
Yeah.
Just learning from
thrive
being
out, children where we
Yeah.
thrive outdoors. That's
Beautiful.
So
exactly.
I grew up here, or in Edinburgh, and when Prena told me about outdoor schools, I said, I can't believe it. It's like
Yes, in Scotland.
blizzards and
Yeah, that's it's not the most typical place we could have an outdoor school, but we're made of hardy things here in Scotland, so the weather doesn't affect us the way that
I know
it
he
it-
wouldn't believe it. He says, surely they don't mean outdoors all seasons, all
all
year.
Yeah.
No, absolutely, we do.
What,
We do.
yeah, what ages do you serve?
So we go from 3 years, so as soon as you turn 3, up to when you're ready to go to school. So there's been a
5,
bit of a
6?
shift in the past year or two. A lot more children are deferring, so we have children who are up to about 5.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
to
3
have
to
anyone
5.
at 6, so 3 to 5.
Okay. And how long is a day?
How long is a day? We start at 8 o'clock in the morning, and the children leave us at 5 o'clock.
Oh, so today became
Fridays we do half day
Okay.
sessions for us Fridays. We do
Oh, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to.
have the ability to stay open Fridays, but not so many people have booked in for
Okay.
Fridays. That's kind of a new
okay.
thing on Fridays, because 5 days fully outdoors is a lot for our kids. So the majority of them kind of come for about 2 to 3
Okay.
days a week.
Okay.
Very rarely you get the odd child who'll come for the full 5. but
Okay. So it's 2 or 3. And do you also draw the government funds for the
Yes, we're
subsidized?
partner provided.
Okay.
So we do.
That's what we
You can
learned
use your
yesterday.
funded
that
places here as
mostly
well.
It's 2.5 days or something. It's
Yeah,
government.
about that. It works out at 1140 hours a year
Okay.
from the term after you turn 3. You can use that here, your full funded places here, or we can do split placements, because a lot of the children do a little bit of an indoor nursery and then they come here for a day or 2. So-
Okay. So this someone doing combination.
yeah,
They're
yeah, a
going
lot of
somewhere
them
and
do.
they're coming here.
Yeah, so they
Okay.
get kind of the best
Okay.
of both worlds.
Okay, so they're not outdoor Monday to Friday, all day outside.
Not all
happening.
of them.
Okay.
Some of them, but not
Okay.
all of them. My own is coming next week. She will be here all week.
And how old is yours?
She's just turned 3.
Oh God. How
Okay, so this was an interesting program where, of course, you heard that there's a combination of inside outside, and they're learning life skills is their thing of experiencing life skills outside. And she talks a little bit more in this conversation of how they do this.
You were talking about how you encourage them to.
Yes, I think one of the biggest mistakes, like learners and educators
Sorry, every time somebody comes to
do
the
make
room,
is,
I do this.
is using, no, don't stop that. What we do here is we ask the right questions, asking the children how they feel, if they're climbing the trees, how their feet feels, how their stomach feels, does it feel a bit wobbly, are you unstable, where's your balance, and then letting the child then process that themselves.
Okay, so I don't know if you heard that or caught that, but it's really talking about how our words to children make a difference. If you keep saying, be careful, be careful, be careful, children don't understand what that means. But changing it around and saying, are you feeling safe? Are you feeling stable? How are your feet? And having the kids draw the attention back on their body so that they can actually master their environment, better than anything else. So this is their outdoor, really very basic, just stuff out there. And because they are literally a forest school, this is where their school happens. And you can see these ribbons, and these ribbons were just wishes, like, you have a wishing tree. So they would have these wishing trees. Yeah. Great, Karen. So you're saying two of your programs are just like this. I came across this plaque in England and I thought this was genius. We should all take it and run with this. The first 5 years have so much to do with how the next 80 turn out. I think this is it, right? What happens early in life lasts a lifetime. This is it. Like, this is at the heart of what we do matters, right? It's the critical years in the morning. Here's another, this was their mud kitchen. So I love their idea. Let's look.
There's so many versions of outdoor kitchens, mud kitchens that I've seen, and I like the fact that you have real plants happening
Yeah.
here. And all
Ours is
the,
very much a mud kitchen. We don't
Yeah.
shine it up and make it look pretty.
and there's all this sorting. So what's with all these mud kitchen recipes?
Yes, they do like
I
them.
love
We tend
that.
to bring it with Lorna, one of our
love that.
practitioners. She is an avid walker at the weekend, so she
Yeah.
brings in all our foraging on a daily basis.
Yeah,
Really lovely, gives the children a lot of variety.
yeah. And then this is the rest of the classroom out there in the forest.
I will take you out to show you.
Perfect.
I don't know if you noticed how long and narrow the space was. So you don't have to have a lot of space. This is what I learned about all these programs. They are being very creative in whatever space they have. And this particular one, where you see the mud kitchen and the creative stuff, is just a long, narrow space because the rest of it is just up the field in the forest. There's like nothing there. So here's another video. Let's watch.
So they're setting them themselves, and nobody police like a 3, 4, or 5-year-old, because if somebody tries to go over them, one of the other children will for sure let you know about it. That has yet to happen.
So these boundary markers, these orange ones, are laid out by the children in the morning so that they know how to use it and they understand the concept.
Okay, I don't know if you saw that or not. There were orange markers, and the kids put those orange ribbons out to create the boundaries where their school is finishing and where the general public path is. Because right where the school is also a hiking trail right there. So people are walking right by. But when the children put the orange markers, they know visually that they can go past it. And I was just so impressed that they actually listened, like they actually did this. The other thing that this school does is they do baking. They do baking with forest, like if you were going camping and you would bake on wood and you would bake on little fires or griddles or whatever, and they cook breakfast, they cook snack there. So they make pancakes and they will make cookies. And I was just like amazed that all of this was happening outdoors. Rain, shine, whatever, they're out there. Snow, storm, they're out there. There is, Scotland has support, so maybe I'll stop the share now so that you can share. Okay, now share in the comments what resonated with you, what was the aha for you, what are your thoughts on the forest school? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. So as you're writing that, I'll tell you a bit more about this program. Scotland has support for early childhood, and Karen shared this, and also we learned in this program that they get subsidies. So the families get subsidies to send their child. I want to say 3 and 4-year-olds get subsidized, Karen. Okay, 3 and 4-year-olds are subsidized to attend a preschool. Kind of sort of are like CCMS in Texas, but this is based on income. Is it based on income in Scotland, Karen, or does everybody get it? Everybody gets it. Okay, everybody gets it.
Everyone gets the same.
Everybody gets the same. So in
Some
Texas,
2-year-olds get it if parents on low income
yeah.
or if they're under social work or something. So some 2-year-olds, but every 3 and 4-year-old and 5-year-old, if they defer entry, gets it.
Yeah. And the good part of that is that you're getting high quality programs and everybody qualifies and everybody's encouraged to take advantage of this. So it's subsidized, and you could use it for anything. It's your choice. Like she was saying, they could go to a traditional, conventional school, or they could come to the forest school or wherever they want to go, but it's subsidized for 2 or 3 days. Yeah, Christina and Jill. Yeah, learning their boundaries, learning. Isn't that what self-esteem and confidence is all about? That I did it and it matters. Like, it's so amazing what some of the programs are doing around the world. I just think it's so fantastic what we can learn from people, right? All right, so can you see my screen? Okay, how are you guys doing? We have 30 more minutes. Are you still with me? Are you getting bored? Is this good? Give me some feedback in the chat. Let me know if this is resonating with you. Are you enjoying it? Give me some feedback. If you were in together room, we would be talking, but you know. All right, cool. Hey, Zlata made it. Okay, fabulous. All right, cool. I'm happy you're here. I'm happy you're enjoying it. And of course, you're going to get the recording, so you can share it with your other coworkers. So here we are in Sweden. This was really interesting. So I have never been to Sweden, and Alan had been when he was younger. He was a teenager. Alan, do you want to talk about your time in Sweden when you were younger?
I'd gone as a teenager for one of my first internship jobs for a summer.
So what I found fascinating about Sweden was it has very narrow streets like this. Do you see this? Like it had a very old town feel to it. It had cobbled streets and you could literally walk all around anywhere in Sweden. So our host in Sweden was Suzanne. She is an author of The Original Learning Approach, and she was so kind and so generous. She spent the whole day with us, giving us a tour of Sweden, teaching us about Swedish culture. And Alan, do you remember how many lakes they had? It was like 30,000 or something ridiculous like that, right? What was it, Alan? Do you remember?
Yeah, something like that, 30,000. Incredible
30,000.
number.
Yeah, so Suzanne was, I
Islands.
mean, islands, sorry, not lakes, islands, 30,000 islands, guys. The whole town, the whole city, the whole place is linked by bridges. So you can walk across islands. Some of the islands are teeny tiny, but what I found fascinating was that they hold the world record for 30,000 islands, all connected by bridges and water. So wherever you look, there was water there. And Suzanne was incredible because originally she's from England, but she lives in Sweden and she is an author and she writes in Swedish. Yay, so many of you know her. She is amazing, right? So it's lovely to have friends. By the way, Sally Hoy was the one who connected me with Karen and Susan. So credit goes to her for putting me in touch with right people. All right, let's listen to her take.
Can you explain a little bit more what that would mean? So we have a system that started in the early 90s that instead of being age 1 to 6 in preschool and then starting school, the year that they turn 6, they would do preschool in a school environment to practice being in a school. There were two purposes for this. One was to have a bridge between preschool and school so the children could get to know each other, because often they came from different preschools into the same class. And the other was an aim to bring more play and holistic approaches to the school. It backfired. It became that the preschools became more and more schoolified. So in 98, preschool, which was called Daghem, eller dagis, became förskola, preschool, had a curriculum which was still very much rooted in play, and I think I liked it a lot. But it's changed in 2010 and 2018, introducing more and more school-like words instead of focusing on it. But it's still rooted in play, it's still rooted in democracy. As is the school curriculum, the first words in the preschool, school and wraparound care curriculums is democracy, which is hard for a school system that is built on authoritarianism.
So this was an interesting concept, and I want to talk a little bit more about this. So I'm going to take away the screening and just talk about it a little bit more. So what Suzanne was saying was democracy is really big in the Swedish culture and the education system. And we had friends in Sweden who have a 11-year-old daughter, and we have an 11-year-old granddaughter. And they were sharing with us that in the school system, the children are leading the parent-teacher conference. Think about that. So they have an 11-year-old daughter. The 11-year-old daughter is facilitating the parent-teacher conference. It's not the teacher, it's not the parent, it's the child. And so the democracy that they're talking about is really trying to bring it to practice. I found that interesting. I'm curious to hear your thoughts about that. What do you think about children leading a parent-teacher conference? So I asked Suzanne about it, and she said, for all these years, the children were always left at home, and the parent teachers would get together, and then they would say, we talked about this, and this was da 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 da. And they wanted to bring the child in the middle and give this child some control over this, so it didn't feel like they were the outside one discussing. What are your thoughts on that? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think it's a good idea that children should lead the conversation about the parent-teacher conference, or you don't have any thoughts about it? What do you think? Just curious. Really? So at the third grade, he let it start. Oh, wow. Okay. So many of you are liking it. Okay, so great. So it's giving them confidence, it's giving them an engagement. They're feeling a sense of purpose and seizing a sense of belonging in there. So that's how democracy starts. The other thing we found fascinating about Sweden was they are big, big advocates for all kinds of things. So every Friday afternoon, they have some kind of a march that happens in their middle of their town. Like literally, in front of their parliament building, they have a march, a protest, or something. So they are advocating. And Greta, what's her last name, Alan? Who has
Greta
done?
Thunberg. Greta Thunberg.
Yeah, Greta Thunberg, who has at what age would the child lead the conference start? Yeah, that's a good question, right? Like, are they doing it in elementary? Are they doing it in early childhood? Like, it's something to think about, right? So Greta Thunberg is from Sweden, and of course, she's advocating. She's walking around the world, and she wants democracy. Alan, do you want to talk a bit more about her work?
So she's an environmental activist and stands up to governments and rich decision makers, oil companies. And
And so
she's done that since a very young age.
yeah, and that makes sense, right? And so they're taking this environment thing absolutely as a commitment, that this is their job and task. Like everybody on it feels that they are now very serious about conserving the plants, and so they've decided almond milk is not a good idea because almonds take a lot of water. So they're now switching to potato milk in Sweden. So there's a lot of intentional things happening. I'm not sure what I think about potato milk. I'm not quite wanting to try it just yet, but but maybe that's just me. So Sweden is, in our mind, very advocacy driven and intentional and purpose. And so in sorry, I'm getting sidetracked because of your comments. And that's what makes them who they are. The other thing that Sweden is doing is many collective things offered in the community by the city for the children. So in Sweden, all of education is taken care of by the government. And in fact, even when you are infants and toddlers, it is better for you to send your children to a program because the meals are provided for free, the diapers are provided for free, all the supplies are provided for free. And if you don't send your child to a school, you will miss out. So it's actually cheaper for you to send your child to a preschool early learning program in Sweden because the government is subsidizing the whole thing. The other thing that they're doing is they create many events for the children, for the family, for the community. This was an event where we were there that day, where they were having a race in the center of town. This is actually, I want to make this bigger. This was in front of the Nobel Peace Prize Museum. Just, it was fantastic. And they were just having this little race, and all the kids got the medal and they all ran. But again, very intentional to get the kids moving, get the families out together, this community feeling happening. Because there's 30,000 islands, we saw many, many boats and ships and variations of that. This was really fun. We went to this little play area, and they're little miniature houses. So the city has created parks, playground areas where children can have imaginative, creative play like a village. And this is inside a housing complex area. And there were many, many like this. Just, Suzanne and I are looking at a ladybug, by the way, over here. This is what captured our attention over here. So it was a yellow ladybug. So she wanted to get a picture of it close up. But it was so fantastic. All right, here's another video clip from her.
I think that's the mindset, right? It's the thinking about the others, and that's where the social emotional piece comes in. Big,
And I think a big problem is the fact we're calling it mindset.
Yeah, yeah.
I prefer, I'm moving towards using the term mind flex.
Tell me more about that.
Mostly because I think we need to be flexible in our ways of thinking. And I think a mindset is, this is the way I think, and I always have to think. No, it's not set like that. People have flexible ways of being, and that I think also we talk about we have a identity. We have multiple identities. I'm teacher, I'm mother, I'm sister, I'm daughter, I'm all of these different identities which I change and jostle around, and children are trying on all of these different identities when they're very young to work out which of the ones do I need to be able to interact with different people.
I love the mind flex.
All right, so that was a little take on how we should change vocabulary from mindset to mind flex.
Okay, so you think it's giving them a chance to express, to learn, and you think it's doing them good?
I don't know. I mean, it's only useful if you're giving them the skills to be able to advocate for themselves, and if the school is not doing that, then it's just making them be in the room. I think the good thing is that they know the teachers are not, and the adults are not talking behind their back. Which I think I remember as a child. How worried I was until my parents came back from the teacher meetings.
I remember
what
that
have they talked about? Here they get to hear, this is what they're talking about. And it's about, and the whole idea of that, I think it should be a dialogue. I don't think the children should be leading it. I think it should be co-led, which it is, technically it's co-led. But I think it should be an opportunity for the children to see, this is what my parent can do, this is what my teacher can do, and this is what I can do so that I get the learning I want. But it's still manipulated.
You know, I'm so fascinated with this because I'm a big proponent for giving children autonomy for learning, respecting their play, respecting them, giving them a choice, giving them a value, like giving them a space. But yesterday's conversation left me wondering, you know, this is what happens when you travel and listen to people. It's just like, wow, are we doing an injustice? There's something to be said for raising the younger ones to know the norms, the respect, the value. And of course, respect is earned, but when you're very young and you're given this space of authority and the space of you get to make the shots and your ego just grows bigger and bigger instead of the heart getting bigger. I wonder.
They're not given the place of authority. They're not given the place of authority. And I think this is a big problem with behaviours, I think, around the world, is that children know what their rights are. They know they're supposed to be treated as equals, but they are not being treated as equals. This, as what you're calling authority by giving them, it's fake. It's a veneer, because they're saying, oh, you're calling the shots in this meeting, but they're not allowed to call any shots at all, because the adults will be manipulating them to make sure that it's still within the school system. It's
I see
fake.
what you're saying.
So of course you're giving children this fake sense of autonomy, which then they don't have, because they still have to adhere to a system. And I think there's this fakeness. And they can see through that. They can see through it. And that's a big problem for my son, his entire school. He did not like being talked at and being controlled 100%. And authority. He wanted to be respected as a human, which he didn't get until he was 17 when he was at the school there. And he goes, they treat me as a human instead of something that's under them.
No, I'm 100% there for that. Like, don't talk at them, talk with them, and treat them in respect. 100% there.
But they're doing this in a
fake way.
I
hear what you're
saying.
So
they're still controlling them.
So that's why the pushbacks are getting even worse.
The pushbacks are worse, I think, because of this, because they know they have this right, but they're actually not given it.
So, just to push them a little bit more, because I'm loving this. If you think they got real respect, and if you think they got real autonomy, because the Kirkland home schools, I saw the little ones having control. They were not manipulative in any way. Do you think when they get up to primary and secondary, if they were given that in a genuine way, do you think we would see less rebellious pushbacks because they wouldn't feel the need to rebel against a person else's. Yeah.
Partly that, and I think also that we have too much individualistic
Yes, that's the
way
other
of
thing.
doing it. So what I've always worked on is this collective.
Yes.
That it's not just about teaching the children to listen to me, they have to listen to each other.
Yes.
And if they're listening to each other, you're building respect and trust between them. And if you don't have all of that, it's not going to work in school. And you can see, like observing my own children from going from first grade to ninth grade and then on to tertiary school, is that the older they got, the more dysfunctional the classes became. Because there was less focus on the social, emotional, self-regulation, and they became events rather than daily things. Like it was anti-bullying event that you have at the beginning of the year, the end of the year, instead of
During the day, it was.
how do you nurture so that children don't need to jostle the power because.
Okay, so that was a fascinating conversation. I hope you got all of that. Teaching children autonomy, giving them a space, democracy, respect, listening, not just doing it fake, but for real, that they have autonomy over their learning and their environment, which, of course, Kirkton Home, we saw very clearly, the Forest School, we saw very clearly, but continuing on. And this was really fascinating, guys. This is a movement in Europe right now. We had not realized, I don't think we're seeing this in America just yet. Many children are opting out of school. They're just not going. They're just not going because the school system is not meeting their needs. So Alan has a sister who has two kids, a teenager and a 13-year-old. So an 18-year-old and a 13-year-old, both of them are not in school. And Suzanne was saying the same thing. And I think if I'm remembering correctly, Karen, you said the same thing, right, for your son. This is becoming a thing. Many children are dropping out of school because the school is just not working for them. And I don't think I had realized that this is a thing because in America, we're not seeing it yet. I'm going to open it up to you guys. What do you think about that? What was your takeaway from the Swedish school? What resonated with you? What surprised you? What are you wondering about? What comments, thoughts do you have? Let's hear it. First grade. So British Columbia, you have first grade there involving the children. That's good to know. Yes, we have to show them respect to get respect. This is 100% true. Yes, that is true. But what do you think about this idea of giving them real autonomy, not fake autonomy? Yes. So, yes, distressed behavior versus challenging behavior. Yes. Yes, it's true. They're distressed. They're not just challenged because grown up is getting challenged. I also agree. I don't like that word. Homeschooling is, and oh, by the way, I think Alan, didn't Suzanne tell us homeschooling was not a choice in Sweden? Is that what you remember her saying?
Again, she said nobody does it because you get everything provided by the state. So why would you do homeschooling?
No, but I think she also said that wasn't an option. Like you had to go in elementary, like you had to go is what I remember her saying. I'm loving this. So anything else from Sweden that spoke to you? What resonated with you from Sweden? And I will move us along because I know I said 3:30, so I want to make sure I respect your time. But if I keep the chat coming, and I will be happy to share the chat also with you guys, if you would like it. I'm happy to do that. Oh, thanks, Stacy, for sharing. Yeah. Yes, I do know that the enrollment in Texas schools is lacking because they are literally closing schools in our neighborhood, even in ISD. So here's a glimpse. Oh, sorry about that. Here's a glimpse of Sweden. Lots of buildings with looking like this. Lots of windows, lots of apartments, and lots of lakes. So you literally can see all of Sweden around lakes, and tons of just places for people to sit and slow down and enjoy the time. There was a vocabulary word I'm forgetting that was connecting with a friend, getting something to eat. Do you remember, Alan, what it was? It was a vocabulary word. FICA. Yes, I love it. We have help on this. Yes, Carolyn, FICA. FICA is a thing. This is what happens. At some point during the day, you grab a coffee and something to eat, and you sit down with a friend. That's a FICA. Oh my God, I can't believe that there was vocabulary help over here. Sustainability. All right, one more. FICA, yes. I called it FICA because yes, but that's what it's called. All right, sustainability, Greta Thunberg.
And so you said your work is transformative, and that's why you connected with Greta's work. Tell me more about that.
For me, the importance is sustainability, especially since my daughters have been part of this Fridays for Future movement, and I've learned from them because we're always learning from everyone. So that I think a lot of early education stuff and school stuff is about things that we're buying, resources all of the time. We've got to have this, we've got to have that, we've got to do this. And not all of them are sustainable. Definitely from an environmental, so ecological point of view, but then I think we also think from sustainability from the three pillars, which is economical, social, and ecological as well. So I think we've got to make choices about do these things come from a place that is child labour? How far have these things travelled? Do I actually already have enough things and I haven't given the time to think about that, how these things connect? Do I need to use all of this plastic? But I'm not against plastic. What's important is, have you taken the time to think about it? Because I see a lot of these people that use cling film and wrap it around the upside down tables and paint on it. I thought, why not get some clear, you can buy tablecloths that are clear, and then you can wipe them clean and then reuse them multiple times, and therefore you've invested in some plastic that is reusable and you can use it for multiple years.
Sorry.
I have, but cling film, it's a one-time thing, and it's so much that gets used. So I think we do have to make those choices, but what we have to then do is think about what is the experience that we're offering the children. Can we give this experience in a more sustainable way? Can we afford that more sustainable way? And what it's this complexity of thinking, and it's not just saying don't use this, don't do that. It's the thinking.
I loved how she inspires us to think outside the box and think, can we sustain this? Can we maintain this instead of just use and waste for one time? And I hope that you're going to get out of your thinking box and think creatively in your places. What can you do to sustain and thinking about these things? So yeah, this is what we learned over here: advocacy for children's rights and for the environment, and resisting the schoolification, which is a watered down elementary level coming to early childhood. And she said in Sweden, they have always been play-based, but now they're having to fight for play-based can stay. And I had not realized that. The bigger thing is that Sweden as a country is really investing in their early learners, early children space, and creating options. So then we went to England, and a childcare expo was happening. This was my very first time speaking at a childcare expo exhibition, not exhibition, a conference. And this turned out to be really fun. So I just wanted to tell you a little story behind this image, why I'm taking this image. This is the one in black sweater. She's my very good friend, Katie. We've been friends for more than 35 years. I met her first when I was living in Scotland, when I first got married. We've been friends all this time. And the person in the orange is Katie, and the person in the black is Bianca. On the day of the session, what I had gone with was not going to work because the weather was so freezing cold, and clearly I had not packed properly. So everybody came to my rescue to dress me for the day of speaking. So the leather jacket came from Katie, the boots came from Bianca. We pulled it together, and I spoke at this conference, and it was such a cool experience. And this was a little take from somebody who attended one of my sessions, and I loved her accent. So this is her feedback after it. Oops, a daisy. What happened?
How it's more practical. Go on.
Right,
I'm going to say it, so I'm speaking to you. So, I really feel like what you've done is being able to capture like theories and things that are coming through education, like university, and be able to make it really practical and be able to put it into context where you can attach it to play and take it into community groups, into parenting, and also into education.
Is the practical application, right? That's where the difference. Yeah.
And
Without
that's
it
so
doesn't work.
different,
Yeah.
than being able to being told theory
Yeah.
and then not knowing how to apply it to our little ones where they can really understand
Yeah.
it, and also to have fun and connection whilst doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Fun and connection.
So this was really funny. She came to my session and she came up and she started saying how much she enjoyed my session, but I didn't quite understand her accent. So I thought she was talking about fairies. And she said, "You are talking about fairies." And I said, "Can I just record you because your accent is so cool?" And as she got talking, I understood she wasn't talking about fairies. She was talking about theories. That in my session, I had brought the theory of learning to life and made it practical and fun. But anyway, it was just very cool. I was just like, I love your accent so much. Karen, do you know where she's from? Like Manchester, or where would this accent be from?
I think it probably is round about Manchester.
Isn't it the best? Like, could you not just hear her speak all day? Like, she's amazing, right? I love this accent. Anyway, tiny bit from here. This is what UK early years foundation stage is called EYFS, early years foundation stage. So they don't call it ECE, they call it EYFS, and that's what it stands for. And nature and outdoor learning is expanding. So this is what we learned at this expo. This, by the way, was a picture of that expo. So you can just imagine there were lots of little booths and it was a really fun experience. My first time speaking in England. It was so fun. And what I realized as I was walking around talking to all these people, that many, many government initiatives are popping up to support early childhood, early learning. There seems to be an emphasis on outdoor learning, nature inspired learning. And it was interesting that this is where the government is taking it. So I have a question for you guys. Do you think this is a new jazzy, sparkly thing? Or do you think this is here to stay? Do you think outdoor learning, forest learning is a thing that is going to create a movement and more schools are going to go in that? Or do you think it's like a new fancy word, a buzzword, and everybody wants it? Karen, you're saying Scotland is a curriculum for excellence. An amazing framework called Realizing the Ambition. So check it out, guys. Those of you that are professors on this call who like to explore things, keep that name in place and check it out further. I think this is reaction to more tech than healthy. Yeah, okay. Here to stay, so it should be freedom. So I hope it's here to stay. Yeah, so I am a big believer, as like you guys are too, right? Outdoor de-stresses us, outdoor regulates us, outdoor reduces distress, unwanted behaviors, right? Um, but Alan, you had something to say about this, having the unlimited free play. Do you want to share your perspective on this?
I don't know if it's really a perspective. I'm probably the least qualified person here to talk about it because I've not had a career in early education. But I went to a very, very traditional, old-fashioned British boarding school, and the school day was divided between lesson time and playtime. And then I hear from Prerna that children learn best from play when they're playing. And so then I wondered, well, why not just cancel the lesson time and have 100% recess from beginning to end? It was just perhaps a flippant comment.
So what do you guys think about that? Having 100% recess time, would you consider outdoor learning as recess? Well, Alan Stacy agrees with you. Karen is saying Scottish government expect all children to have at least 50% of their time outdoors. That's interesting. So there's actually a percentage that they're going for. I don't think we're there in Texas yet, or with percentage of 50% outside. Both is good. Yeah, this is it, right? It's this interesting thing. It's not just free for all running around outside. You're actually learning. And I know we're at 3:30, so I'm going to move us quickly to Alaska because I promised you 3:30. If you got to go, I understand, but if you can hang on and stay to the end, I'm going to share the certificate and the evaluation form in just a few minutes. Alan, but actually, you could go ahead and share that now. Go ahead and share the evaluation form first while I take us to Alaska. My goodness, this is Alaska, guys. This is Alaska. Remember, this is camera not doing it justice. It was stunningly, gorgeously beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful, breathtaking. The colors were muted. The lakes were still. The reflection of the mountain was happening in there. Oh my goodness. I don't think we did it justice. Like it really, please go to Alaska if you can and just really just make time for it is what I can say. This was interesting. We had not planned on this. This was spontaneous. We actually have a coaching membership for behaviors, and the Head Start School, the Cook Intel. I don't think anybody from there is on. If you're on, unmute yourself and tell me you're here. If there's anybody from Cook Intel on this call, let me know. They have a Head Start program, and okay, I just wanted to make sure the staff were not telling me that they were here because I wanted to bring them on. So they serve Native Alaskan population. It's a Head Start program, so obviously serving poverty area. But these two ladies were in our coaching program, and we didn't know that their program was right where we were staying. So I emailed them and said, hey, we're in Alaska. Can we come see you? And they're like, yes, come on over. So they gave us a tour.
So the Dena'ina natives have these trees that are upside down. Their roots are up. And they would climb up and sit there and wait for the beluga whales to come by, and they would spear their whales from the tree stump. Wow. Yes. And then we have like the net is, there's whale bones on each side, and we have the net in between, and the huts that you would see in a village.
Wow. And Alyssa, do you want to say something? Do you want to add to it? This beautiful outdoor
Way to put me on the
playground.
spot now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you can see how the grass, that's where the land, all of the structures that are on the green part is land. And then all of the structures that are on the blue part is where the water. So you see all the sea animals and the boats.
Isn't this just so magical? And with these big silver birch trees over there, this is such a magical playground.
And then they had this seal skin to make the boat, which looks absolutely stunning. And then they have lots of features of native Alaskan culture in their classrooms, like this woven out of the bark, fur from different animals, because this is what children would see at home. So they're creating an environment that reflects the home. Then they had the fire hearth in the middle where the family would gather. And of course, this is not hot or real, but it's the pretend where they would have their gathering space. And then they would have the values: we care, we respect, we honor, and really they use the language. So the children are learning native language. And then they had posters of how really to connect with kids to get down on their level. But the weaving was there. And this, look at these baskets and the individual children where they have their cubbies, spaces, and learning parts of the whale and the beach and the shark. And it's just woven in. And it was just so nice. Oh, this was Niagara Falls because we had a put over there. So. So we ended up in New York speaking. So Alan, if you wouldn't mind putting the the evaluation form in the chat, that's already there. Please take a minute to fill it. And then if you have any questions, any comments, any wonderings, I'll also be quiet so that you have a minute to write. Let me know if you can't open the form. Can everybody open the form? Does it work for you? Yeah, that's true, Lynn. We also have the guidelines of very hot and very cold in Texas. That's true. But you know, when you're in Scotland and Sweden, that weather doesn't matter. And they love it. Yeah, when we were in Alaska, it snowed and the kids were out. They cried they didn't like it. They cried the whole time. Oh, it doesn't seem to be working for you. Is it working for anybody else? Can you let me know if Cindy's the only one who can't? Okay, I'm seeing some thumbs up. Cindy, you may have to log into your Google. If you haven't logged in, that may be the reason why. Is it working for everybody else? All right, so again, I'm going to remind you, you're going to get a certificate in the chat for those of you stayed all the way. And if you're listening to the recording, there won't be a certificate. So please don't email me after the fact for certificates, because it's only if you attended. No, I can't email it. I can put it in the chat. Alan, if you can put the certificate in the chat, that would be helpful. We can't email certificates, but we can top 1-2 things that would be easily adapted in the US early childhood programs that you've seen overseas. Definitely. Okay, that's a good question, Cynthia. What could be adapted to the US programs that I've seen out in the other countries? I would definitely say we can do better with more autonomy for our children. Autonomy over learning, autonomy over environments, autonomy over just play. I think that is something that we can easily do. Not to me, I'll try again, but it doesn't work. Oh, so can you put, so is there a reason the form is not working? For some, I'm seeing Abigail, it's not opening for me. We haven't done the certificate yet, but so yes, hang it tight. Okay, Alan, are you giving them the certificate as well? So the form is working. If you don't have it, I can find it, Alan. Let me
I'm
know.
trying to get the certificate loaded, but it's not pasting in for some reason.
Okay, give him a minute. He's trying to do this. Give him a minute. So what else can we do? Definitely autonomy over our environments is something that we can do. The other thing that I think that we can do is introducing this concept of affirmations in the way we speak. Instead of gentle hands, walking feet, blah, 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 transforming it and really slowing down and giving them PDAs like, I notice you're being a kind friend. I notice that you're being considerate. I think using the vocabulary that helps them. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you guys for the ones who've completed the forms, and Alan is going to give you the certificate right now, which he did post. So I'm going to